or look, that is created in your mind. A dog wouldn't think a cake is they would probably sniff it and go away. Or any other types of objects. When you hear a pleasant sound, you're just hearing your mind. That's all. When you're seeing an object, you're just seeing your mind. This is the right view from Dhamma, from the Dhamma point of view. So you can see it, it's very deep and very powerful, and that's why, this is not something easy for people to see. But this is the first stage of delineating mind and matter. That's called the purification of view. And we'll be talking more about that in subsequent talks. But this is really the training in Vipassana, is when you're sitting down, once you've been able to focus your attention and build up some concentration and weaken the hindrances. You'll never be able to see any of this without weakening the hindrances to some extent. But then you start, after you've used the breath to kind of get centered in the body and relaxed, then that's when you, even if you're doing the Anapanasati, okay, when you say that's my in or out breath, it's sensations you're feeling. You're feeling the sensation of the clothing rubbing against the belly. And so you identify that's the in-breath, because you know that's your chest expanding or contracting. But again, those are just vibrations. And you start to identify, this body is just these vibrations, material vibrations, fluid vibrations. You feel saliva in the mouth, or the water vibration. If you feel the hardness of your buttocks pressing the seat, solid vibration. Or the heat vibration. And so you start gradually trying to define the experience as just vibrations. There's a pain, there's an itch, okay. That itch is also a vibration, or a biting sensation, or a stinging sensation, or stabbing pain. These are just vibrations. Okay, that's a painful feeling. This is a pleasant feeling. But you don't identify you as being the owner. You just identify these elemental facts. Just the facts, ma'am. As Sergeant Friday in Dragnet would say. So, when something arises, this is painful feeling arises. This is pleasant feeling arises. This is material vibration. This is a sound vibration. This is a mental vibration. A thought in the mind that comes. Thinking, mental vibration. And you stop identifying it as being me or mine. But see, that's what we do to all these vibrations. And we give them the objects that then we get attached to and drags in the memory about them. Like you remember about some person that got you angry. So the average person would just say, this memory of some person who says, this person, they told a lie to me. I'm going to get in the mind, gets carried away. But from the mindfulness perspective, we first identify, memory is arising. Or this anger is arising. And you focus on the anger as a vibration. What is this anger doing in the body? It's causing my jaw to clench. It's causing my fist to tense up. And usually most of these emotions will have a counterpart vibration in the body, because the body and mind are very intimately connected. And so you try to identify that vibration in the body and see it as just a bubble of anger. But if you start projecting the anger and bringing up a memory on the person, on a certain person, then that's what then sets up a ricocheting effect back and forth between you and that person. That person did this to me. And it goes, and then the emotion, just builds up. So instead, you break it down into its elemental. This is just anger arising. Don't put it onto somebody else. Or sadness. Don't say, I am sad. Just sadness is arising. Okay, it's just sadness. Feel what's in the body, what's happening there. Or what's in the mind. It's just thinking. But no, we're always identifying, going back into our memory and thinking, this. And that's what intensifies it. So we can apply that same kind of what we call logic, Dhamma logic, to almost virtually any experience that comes to us. We break it down into those 5 aggregates. This is form, material vibration. This is feeling. This is perception, a mental picture being created out of just a material vibration. This is the reaction that's coming. And this is the consciousness, the ego consciousness. And you see them as this is not me or mine or myself. And you see them as impermanent. And so this is the right view, according to the Dhamma. This is the beginning of purifying the view. And you might say, well, what is the good of that? Based on what I've said, can anybody...
Because then you're seeing the things as they are, so then you can have a grasp of the reality and not... at least you're breaking it down in the parts. You can see the parts.
Especially the non-self part. You're not identifying them as being me or my body or these particular objects. And so, you're seeing them in that they're just elemental vibrations that are coming and going at a very rapid speed. It's only when we try to stop them or hold on to them that the mind then starts building up these perceptions and we get caught in them. So discerning mind and matter, that all that's happening in our experience from the moment you wake up in the morning to the moment you go to sleep is just mind recognizing material vibrations, creating seemingly objectified objects, and the mind getting pulled out, into the past or future, and breaking that connection to the present moment, which is the peaceful awareness. And this is the study of the mind. This is what in Vipassana meditation that you're actually studying. It's not just, only just watching the breath or even just watching sensations coming and going, but what is the import of that? What is the underlying importance? And it's basically of seeing how the mind gets caught and then suffers on account of its attachment to these various types of sensations and thoughts. And so it uses some intellectual understanding. So this is where the right understanding is of 3 levels. The intellectual understanding level, like you hear this kind of a thing in a Dhamma talk or read it in a book and say, well, that sounds pretty interesting. Never heard that before. Let me check that out. So hopefully it gets your interest to want to investigate. So the right understanding, because if you don't hear something, you're not going to ever want to do anything, basically. It's the reason why we do anything in the world is we hear something and say, oh yeah, that's cool, let me try that. Or read a book. So the intellectual understanding. You get some understanding about that intellectually. That kind of hopefully stirs up your interest to want to practice. And then you start investigating. As you actually start meditating and investigating, you start to see some subtler things and say, wow, yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. You know? And so your understanding deepens. It's not just intellectual now. You're actually seeing what's happening within the mind and how quickly the mind is up. These aggregates are interreacting by observing them. And so that's called the Chintamaya Pani. The meditation that comes through thinking and reflecting. And then the deepest level is the experience of the Bhavanamaya Pani, which is the deep insights into emptiness and so on, or non-self that occur through the transformation of consciousness. The opening of the mind camera lens. But it starts with this intellectual understanding. That's why in the Theravada teaching especially, having a working intellectual understanding of the five aggregates is considered to be quite useful. Because it helps put your mind on the track. You sit down and say, okay, this body's four elements. You watch, there's a painful sensation. See how quickly that sensation just arose and vanished. See how that perception pops into the mind. Like sitting at the movies. You're watching the movie of your body and mind, that's it. But with detachment. It's like you're watching a movie in a theater. You can get excited, but you can't go out there and actually grab that man or woman who's in the movie. So the same way, you're watching this movie of your own body sitting there, breathing, sensations coming and going, your mind tripping out, all kind of like shooting stars, all kind of thoughts and ideas and visions and whatever zipping through the mind. But you're just, sitting back and, okay, just form, feeling, perception, volition, consciousness. This is not me, this is not mine, this is not myself. And you even talk yourself through that over and over again, hundreds and thousands of times, until it gets drilled in to the mind. And we'll talk more about that later in subsequent talks. But that gaining that initial right view is called purification of view. That means dividing the world into just name and form. That means materiality and mentality. In everybody's minds, it works in the same way. And we're not talking again about the external world. Buddha didn't care much about the external world. He cared about the mental world, because that's where suffering arises due to our delusions and fundamental ignorance. Okay?
So